right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, Wakakadash, in the Heavenly Father. The true name is Yahweh, and His unbegotten Son Ba'Hashem, in the name of Mashiach Kapshai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the last Wakadash on tongue. And I say Barakatham to the elders and apostles, Akwaf, and I say Shalom. And this is a recent news article, the rising tension between Iran and Israel. And then you had a latest nuclear strike from the United States targeting 3 nuclear facilities over there in Tehran of Iran. And this is, I just want to add a side note to that. This is from the Washington Post, updated 4 minutes ago. It says, the United States warship carried out successful strikes on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, Trump says. It says the President Donald Trump said Saturday that the U.S. warplanes carried out strikes on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, calling the attack successful. It's saying the aircraft has departed Iranian airspace. The strikes target nuclear facilities in Fordow, Natanz, and Al-Shafam. Trump said in a post on True Social, a 4 payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site of Fordow. He said Trump says he would address the nation from the White House at 10 p.m. It says key updates. U.S. warplanes strike 3 Iranian nuclear sites in sweeping attack. It says these are the 3 Iranian nuclear sites targeted by U.S. nuclear facilities, according to Trump. Right, those are the areas over in Iran, Al-Shafam, Natanz, and Fordow. Got a U.S. warplane strike Iranian nuclear sites in their sweeping attack. The U.S. carried out a sweeping strikes against Iran nuclear facilities, President Donald Trump says late Saturday, marking a major escalation for this administration that tethers the United States directly to a conflict with no clear outcome or end in sight. It says the president said in a social media post that the U.S. warplanes carried out a very successful attack on 3 sites, including the Mediterranean, Fordow, and a nuclear enrichment facility. A key target. This is Israel for a full story. And this is the book of Matthew, because this is a sign of wars and rumors of wars. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 6. It says, "Ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must first come to pass, but they ain't not yet." Right, so it's going to come to pass, but it's not going to edge just yet. So we're going to be seeing these modern day nuclear wars and rumors of wars, especially between Iran and Israel, and Iran versus the United States. So most likely Iran is going to respond to this, because I believe it said on Donald Trump's post, it says, because he posts on his social media site, he was saying, "I will be giving an address to the nation at 10 o'clock p.m. at the White House regarding a very successful military operation in Iran. This is a historical moment for the United States, America, Israel, and the world." It says, "Iran must agree to end this war. Thank you." Well, that's not going to happen. Most likely the scenario, that's not going to happen, because we got to keep this in mind that you had the president of the foreign minister of Tehran says if the United States get involved in these nuclear strikes, that they're going to target these nuclear facilities. They're going to look at that. They're going to look at as a state of war right there, and that's going to potentially have the United States get involved in it, because they're going to look at that's a sign of war, against Iran nuclear facilities and against Iran and their military, So most likely, after the United States target those 3 nuclear facilities over there in Tehran of Iran, so Iran is not going to hurry up. They're just not going to automatically, Iran is not going to automatically just going to end the war just like that. Oh, you just dropped 3 nuclear bombs, nuclear stealth bombs on our nuclear facilities, and then you just tell us to just give up and then just end the war like that. No, Iran is going to look at that as a war. They're going to look at that as war. So expect the pro-Iranian groups to target those military bases over in Iraq and Syria. Expect to see Iran is going to respond. I don't know how they're going to respond, but they're definitely going to respond back. And they definitely not going to be getting to the nuclear talks. And keep this in mind, the foreign minister says if the United States get involved and use airstrikes against those nuclear facilities over in Tehran, if Israel Defense Force continue to use their nuclear strikes against Iran over there in Tehran, if Iran, they look at that as a war. And then they're not going to have, and the nuclear talks is off the table, to de-escalate tension, that's off the table. So a nuclear deal and trying to have a peace deal, that's off the table, And that goes into that 1 Thessalonians 5:3, for when they shall say peace and safety, so destruction come upon them, as it shall be a woman child shall not escape. Since I mentioned that, because of Iran, they look at that as a declaration of war against Iran. Now that the United States got involved in it, even though the United States look at that as a successful strike, but Iran is going to look at that as a declaration of war against their nuclear facilities, against their armament as well too. And that's only going to build up more. That's going to build up more nuclear wars and more tensions. Now you got the United States got involved in this, despite the fact the Trump administration talking about this is a successful attack. No, that's not going to be the case, because Iran is going to look at it as a declaration of war. Now, Iran, the pro-Iranian groups, now they're going to be targeting those military bases over in Iraq and Syria, like I mentioned before. And this is the book of 1 Thessalonians, chapter 5, verse 3. Yep, 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 3. It says, for when they shall say peace and safety, some destruction come upon them, as a travail woman child they should not speak. And this is
I'm a dig until I find.
There you go. And this is the book. Yep, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, which I brought this out already. Right, so that's what we're seeing, wars and rumors of wars, that you have the United States struck 3 nuclear facilities. As I mentioned once again, Iran, they're going to look at that as a declaration of war. And keep this in mind, you had a protest yesterday, called Protest of Rage. And you've been having those, all those armies of nations over there in the Middle East. They are in solidarity with the pro-Iranian groups, with Iran and all those Arab nations over there in the Middle East. That's why they are in unity and alliance with one another against the United States armies, against Israel, which is the Israel Defense Force. So, potentially that's going to stir up more tensions. So, as I mentioned once again, expect to see the pro-Iranian groups use airstrikes aggressively now, so more than ever, against the United States armies and their military bases on Iraq and Syria. And expect to see Iran going to respond back to this. So, peace talks and nuclear talks, that's out the window. As I mentioned again, the foreign minister over there in Iran says nuclear talks are off. Nuclear talks is out the window. A nuclear deal out the window. So that's only going to stir up more tensions. Matthew 24, verse 6, it says, ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must first come to pass, but then it's not yet. Right, so expect to see more nuclear escalations heating up between Iran and Israel now that the United States got involved in it, despite the fact Donald Trump's talking about this is a successful strike. Because Iran is going to look at that as a declaration of war on their country, on their armament and their nuclear facilities. So that's only going to build up to the Third World War, which is World War III. We see increasing signs of it. Matthew 24, verse 7. It says, for nation shall rise against nation. That's what we're seeing. Iran versus the United States. The pro-Iranian groups against the United States going against the Israel Defense Force. And Iran going against the United States armies and the Israel Defense Force. It says, "For nation shall rise against nation," which goes into ethnos.
So certainly you had going from freeze pop, you know, certain more into that scope.
Right.
It goes up every time spot.
Mm-hmm.
You get some freeze pop, you don't walk into the bed. Somebody found the real hanging out there.
Sure it is. I had to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was windy all over today. Oh, bro. This is Book of Matthew 24:7. It says, "For nation shall rise against nation," which goes into ethnos, and that's what we see it. And kingdom against kingdom. It says, "There shall be famines and earthquakes in diverse places." This is the book of Revelations 11 verse 14. Yeah, Revelations 11 verse 14. It says, "The second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly." Why? So the second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly, which is World War III. That's what we're seeing. So with that, hopefully this sit down lesson was edifying. This recent news article from the Washington Post, as it says, from Israel-Iran live updates, updated 15 minutes ago. It says U.S. warplanes carry out successful strikes on 3 nuclear sites in Iran. Trump says, because I believe Donald Trump said he's going to address the nation at 10 o'clock about the successful 3 nuclear sites of airstrikes that he did with the stealth bombs. And he look at it as successful. So as I mentioned once again, Iran is going to look at that as a declaration of war on their nuclear facilities, on their country as well too. So that's only going to stir up more tensions. So expect to see Iran is going to respond to that. We don't know how they're going to respond to that, but they're definitely going to respond back to it. So expect to see Iran versus the United States. Tensions are only going to escalate. Expect to see Iran versus Israel. Tensions are escalating because right now, after that had happened, basically, like I mentioned before, the nuclear talks and the peace deal, that's out the window. So that's the most likely scenario. But with that, as I mentioned once again, hopefully this sit-down lesson was edifying. This news article of U.S. warplanes carry out successful strikes on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, Trump says. So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, and the Heavenly Father. True name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Ba'ashem, and then Mashiach Kabashai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Maswakadash tongue. And I say Barak Thumb to the elders and apostles, Akwa. Until next time, I would say Shalom.